So I'm with Ian Renard here, GMS Engagement Lead. I'm with Simon Cruz, who works in our competitions team, and he's here today to answer some questions. However, we have Chris Clegg coming in. Let's enter Chris. That's good, Simon. Hello, Chris. How are you?
Hi there. Sorry, I'm a bit late.
That's all right. That's all right. Well, I'm Ian. I'm GMS Engagement Lead. I've seen some great comments from you on Facebook recently. Yeah, we've got Simon Cruz here, who's a specialist around electronic match cards. So feel free to ask him any question that you have around electronic match card.
Yeah, I mean, I used them for the first time on, when was it, last week, I think, because I was entering the Yorkshire Cup results for our under-14s and our under-15s. Yeah, I mean, I don't have a huge amount of. I was just going to sort of sit in and see what other people were finding with it. It seems fairly intuitive, actually, from what I've seen of it. There's quite a lot of detail that we don't go into at sort of junior, but we don't keep tally of penalties. You just keep the score, but I suspect that's more for your elite rugby and people that want to have player stats and everything else that goes with it. The question was, should we be filling these out for, I think it was a question that went on the GMS group actually, should we be filling these out for all the 15-side games that we play, or just where we've been asked to do it for things like the Yorkshire Cup and what have you? Or what's the sort of policy, as it were? Should we be doing that?
So it basically depends on the competition organizer. So it's not like mandated across the board. In theory, every fixture that's created on GMS does have a match card created for it.
Okay.
Either you just put the score in, or you put the lineup in, or you put the whole match event stuff in, as you mentioned there on the penalties. But kind of outside, as I said, it boils down to the competition organizer and whether or not they want to use it, and
right.
They want to use it.
And if we, I mean, I think I submitted the match card team the day before, and again, I've seen some comments about people being unable to go back and amend it after the event. Well, can we do that if we need to? Say players don't turn up or what have you, which.
Yeah. I think that's the exact scenario, right? Like, it's obviously in the RFU league, the men's and the women's, there's specific regulations about when things can be amended and that sort of thing. And obviously, it's then just a case of communicating with your league secretary or competition organizer or whatever it is. But no, you should be able to go back in and do it. Everything's kind of signed off.
Because you've gone very, very crackly.
Sorry.
I think it's probably my end rather than yours, but yeah. Sorry, I didn't catch that.
No, that's fine. I can repeat myself. Yeah. So the short answer is yes, you should be able to. It'll obviously depend. There might be certain regulations around it depending on.
I'm still having some IT problems.
Ian, can you hear me? All right? Is it me?
I can hear you clearly.
Yeah, I think it's at my end. So let me just mute myself for a couple of minutes and I'll try and fix it.
Don't worry. Okay, we'll come
back to that question, but it's a good question. But in short, yes, you can do input stuff post event. Chris, you've joined us. Chris Ellen, have you got any questions you'd like to ask Simon around electronic match card?
Nothing that probably initially springs to mind. I think part of this is electronic match cards. I don't want to say are new to us at the club. We have a new ladies team, which are actually a recognised league. So they have to be fully affiliated, effective affiliated. We have to do all the match cards. And there's something that our new coaches have kind of said, right, what do we need to do? What have we started on? So I've been helping them a bit. So I have multiple roles at the club, one of them in sort of a GMS lead and data officer and other things. And so I'm good with technology. But really it's kind of understanding what they need to be doing, which bits are a definite. There's a lot looking at it. There's a lot in the match card. So I can see that there's basics. We fill out the player lists, which is what we've been working on the last few weeks as the season started. the scores as well. What I was probably thinking about as a question is how important, relevant, or what implications does filling in some of the event pieces and such. So, for example, I saw on the GMS guidance for a match card, it says try and make sure you fill in when tries are scored and things. So at the moment, our match cards are pretty much just a score. So how relevant is it, or how necessary, or is there an implication if we do actually manage to fill in, tries scored and other things as well?
Yeah, so the things that are mandatory within the RFU leagues, whether it's men's or women's, is your lineup before the match. The home team then will put the score in the score tab afterwards, including the number of tries scored, as in the actual number of them, and then they will confirm them card after that on the confirmation screen.
Mm-hmm.
The only bits that are actually mandatory. At most of the levels, if we get up into like the national leagues in the men's and then the professional competitions, then they have to do the match events as well. That's mandatory for them, but it's not for anybody else. So one of the women's community game or regional down in the men's game, the match events aren't mandatory. Obviously, if you guys teams want to do it, then great. We think that there's a lot of really good benefits to doing that. One, it's potentially giving you then something that's probably being done elsewhere anyway, and obviously all these things can be exported out of GMS as well. It's also quite nice for the players to have their names kind of up in lights on the RFU website on the fixtures and results page. They can kind of like see like, oh, I'm the top try scorer in the league, or the top point scorer, or I've played games and whatever else it might be. But those bits, the match events aspect of it isn't mandatory unless you're playing in the national levels in the men's game or above, and then Premier 15s in the women's at the minute.
Okay. No, that's fine. I think certainly for the levels we're looking at the moment, even with either the refs or the league representatives, a lot of the time they only want the score. And a lot of the time, there's not even enough people at the game to say, yeah, we know exactly what try scored. Half of them are like, I'm not sure what the score is. And it just comes off the pitch at the end. This is a score. No one argues because we're not really sure what was awarded for what. So that's fine. Personally, I'd like to see those stats. As you said, I'm quite keen to see being able to give that back to the players. You guys are doing well, you've played, but these guys are your top scorers. These are doing this, I'm very big on trying to improve the club stats and actually get people visibility of who our top performers are and other things as well.
Yeah, I think kind of bringing this back around to Chris Clegg's question, who can hopefully hear me not all gobbled up now. Those match events can kind of gone in and put in afterwards. So obviously there's again, in the RFU leagues, there's a time limit deadline that the cards needs to be submitted by and confirmed by, just to sign off that aspect of it. But then actually you can still go back in and add those match events afterwards. So it might be that those don't happen until later on in the week within the whoever's got time, which potentially can help with that as well, rather than it being it doesn't for the match cards being confirmed. So it doesn't need someone to be running around doing it kind of there and then as it's happening.
Mm-hmm.
Want to do that, and that someone's got the capacity to do that, then great. Yeah, otherwise if they want to look to do it later in the week, then that's fine.
Okay.
Possibly worth just sharing.
This to you guys. So this is where this is all powered by electronic match card data. These are the types of things you can see: top point scorers in the country, top try scorers, who's got the highest points at home in the country, away, who's got the best home fortress, who's good at traveling. Some really cool stats for players, and presented in quite a nice way, to be fair. But again, it's this is players have said that they like this kind of stuff, and it's a good thing. It's quite a good thing to share and know about. But yeah, not sure if you'd seen that before, but it's worth sharing.
No, I hadn't actually. I must admit, not as a public thing. I mean, I guess because of the number of clubs at lower leagues and such, we'd be disappearing off a list potentially compared to some. But at our level, as you say, players say they like it, and for us, it's more about trying to give something back to the players to show that they've got progress, they're making performance. You know, sometimes players, they come off a pitch, they can't remember if they scored the try or not. So, you know, we almost want to be able to say, look, you know, it hits with our end of season awards that we want to do, top try scorers and other things. No one's going to remember in the end of the year what happened in all the games. So I'm keen that those stats actually start, you know, giving back to the players, encouraging them to come back for next season, do more and such as well.
I think that's an interesting point. So just looking at the person who was top of the try scorer list was from Scarborough Valkyries ladies team. They're a National Challenge 3 level. They're a level 6 level women's team, which is the bottom of our women's structure at the minute. So obviously, as you said, like there's not often, I think, in many sports where you get the opportunity to be kind of playing at that level and being at the being able to put yourself up there on a list with literally everyone in the country. So no, I mean that's obviously the opportunity that's there, and that's quite a cool thing to be able to say. But yeah, as you said, there's just the opportunity to do that, and then you can also go into GMS itself on the organizational management section. There's a team report section, and you can just download all the information based off what's in your based on obviously what's been inputted for your club and for your teams. So you can kind of then do your rankings kind of like within the club and things like that. I know in the past when I was playing, there was a piece of paper as soon as you walked into the club that had all of that on. So people have been doing it for years, and every so often you'd wander into the clubhouse and go, all right, they must have scored last week, they didn't. And then invariably with me as a winger going, someone, I should have had an extra one, so I knew if I come off the pitch whether or not I scored it. But yeah, so it's just an evolution of that, and then obviously an opportunity now in kind of the social media aspect of things to make a bigger deal of it as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I suppose in terms of
processes around how to do stuff, there's a lot of online resource that's available. So I'm just going to drop a link in the chat that takes you to help portal and to the electronic match card section where there's loads of articles to support in that space. But there's also a webinar that Simon did in the summer on our GMS playlist in July, which is on YouTube. So I'll pop that in the chat, because I think that might be quite helpful if you're wanting to share with others in the club around how to do it. That's got a step-by-step process there around how to do it, which Simon did, and there's people have asked some questions on there as well, which are quite useful. So hopefully that helps.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. I mean, so I only deal with the junior side, but I'll certainly speak to whoever does the match cards for the seniors and just point that out to them if they're not here today.
Absolutely. Okay. Got any other burning
Questions, guys? We do.
No, I don't think so for me. Thanks.
Yeah, so good. Cool. I'm just going to get this link. There's probably one more question I've seen quite often come up, Simon, and it's purely just around. Sorry, just getting it up now. Can a club have more than one electronic match card administrator?
Yes. So yeah, the match card administrator role, it's not a golden rule, so it's not just linked to one person. You can have as many as you want. What we currently don't have, and this is sometimes a question we get the kind of the other side of it, at the minute we can't assign people within a match card administrator to a specific team. So what it will be is that you will see all of the and receive all of the electronic match cards within your club if you're a match card administrator. So whether you do it for the men's first team or you do it for the under 16 girls, you would be able to see all of those. That's something potentially to look for in the future development wise. But yeah, in answer to your very specific question, Ian, yes, you can have as many as you want within a club. You've just got to make sure that the people, as well as having the role, have the permission level of either 1, 3, or 5. We generally recommend, if that is their only role in that sort of space, that they just have level 1 access, just from a data perspective.
Excellent. And I've got
Two more questions. I think we can squeeze 2 more in. Lots of people come and say, come often say, why can I not see a player in my lineup when I search for them? Why would that be, Simon?
Yeah, so it's kind of a few things to check in that. Usually it's are they effectively registered to the club? Are they affiliated if you're in a competition that only requires affiliation? And the other thing that we brought in last year, but it's still obviously newer to some clubs, is the signing of players to squads. So it might be that the players effectively registered to your team, to your club. What you then need to do is go in the team management section on GMS and look in the all club bit, and then you should be able to assign a player to a specific team or multiple teams. Like you can assign a player to the first, the seconds, and the thirds, whatever it might be. But the draw list for on the electronic match card comes from those squads that the players have been assigned to. So you just need to make sure that they've been assigned into the appropriate squad. That is date locked. So if it's for whatever reason someone hasn't been assigned prior to the match, they won't then be able to be added to that match card for that weekend. But then if you've added them into the squad, then they will then be available to be selected onto the match card for anything after that.
Excellent, thank you. And one last question is, can you access the match card on desktop or mobile, or does it do both?
So yeah, so there's options for both. Again, obviously certain people find certain things easier on certain aspects. What we've had really good feedback on actually with the match events that Chris Allen was talking about earlier on is how kind of easier it is to do that on mobile, which again, if you're on the side of the pitch doing it, it is perfect. But the functionality is pretty much the same. There's a couple of smaller things you can't do on the mobile version. But probably it's now 98% of stuff you can do on the desktop version, you can do on the mobile version. It's not a specific app for the mobile version. It's just a different web address URL that kind of takes you through it a different way. But you log into one, it's the same login. It's just the mobile version is more optimized for a smaller screen. So that's the advantage to doing it on there.
Thanks for your time today, guys, Chris and Chris. I have just popped in the chat there the link to the GMS playlist where you can see Simon delivering a webinar in the summer. It's on the 12th of July. It's in the electronic match card. But yeah, worth having a look at that to share with any other people within your club that need to know about electronic match card and how to complete. And you've got some help guides in the help portal there that answer some frequently asked questions and guide you as well. So hopefully today's been useful. We will record that. This has been recorded and this will go on YouTube to support clubs as well. But thank you for attending and hope you have a good rest of your day.
Okay, yes, thanks very much. You too.
Indeed, thanks very much, guys.